Alright guys, today we're going to learn how to find the inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. Other matrices have inverses as well. They must be square to have one. Concentrating today just on a 2 by 2, and you just need to figure out the pattern as we go through. So I'm going to show you 3 here in a second. Just make sure you figure out the pattern on exactly how we're doing these things. So when you get the delta math, you can do it. Alright, first of all, I need to tell you this. This is an inverse. It says identity matrix. Identity matrix is what you get when you multiply two inverse matrices together. Now, on today's assignment, we're not going to do this, but had we been in class today or tomorrow, we would have multiplied sums, so you could see that you got this as a result. When you see the word inverse, you see multiplicative inverses like this. When you do in growing up in math, you would do inverses like this, like 4 over 1 times 1 over 4. Those are called multiplicative inverses, and when you multiply them, the 4's cancel and you get 1. Well, these matrices down here are called identities. They have 1 going down the main diagonal. Everything else is a 0. That's a matrix version of 1. All right, so when you multiply inverses, that's what you would get. Now, again, we're not going to do that today, but I want you to know that fact. It's just for, for the future. Okay, here's a 2 by 2 matrix, and what they're going to ask you to do is just find the inverse. First of all, if they give you a variable like A, like that's matrix A, the symbol for the inverse would be this, A with a -1. Like we've done inverses before, a little F -1, same thing with matrices. There are about 4 steps. Watch very carefully, not difficult at all. First thing you do is multiply this main column, and you have to go this order. 4 times 7 is 28. Then multiply this column and get 6, and you're always going to subtract. 28 minus 6 is 22. All right, so that's the first step. Multiply this way, multiply that way, always subtract. Now, once you get the number from the subtraction, you're going to flip that number, or the reciprocal of it, make it 1 over 22. All right, that goes outside your matrix. Inside your matrix, you're going to take the first number and the 4th number and just switch places. And then you're going to take the 2nd number and the 3rd number and change the signs on those. And once you do that, you're pretty much there. That's the inverse right there. Now what I want you to go ahead and do is distribute the 22. So we'll do 7 over 22. The next number will be -2 over 22, which is really -1/11. -3 over 22. And then 4 over 22 would be 2 over 11. And there you go. So the steps again: multiply, multiply, subtract, take reciprocal of that number outside, switch places with the 1st and 4th, change signs on the 2nd and 3rd, and I just made a mess. Let me show you 2 more. All right, this one, -3, 2, -5, 4. Again, same steps. Going to multiply that diagonal, that's -12. Multiply that diagonal, that's -10, and you always subtract. When you subtract those 2, you get -2. After you subtract, remember you take reciprocal of that number and it goes outside, so put in -1/2 outside. Switch places with the 1st and the 4th, change signs on the other 2, and then to finish up, I'm just going to distribute the 1/2. -1/2. -1/2 times the 4 is -2. -1/2 times -2 is 1. -1/2 times 5 is -5/2. -1/2 times -3 is +3/2. And that's all there is to it. Okay, I want to say very easy. Once you know the steps, it's really easy. The math part is easy. And I need you to get this though, because obviously what's coming next is we're going to use this to solve matrix equations, so you got to be good at this step. Okay, there's one exception to the rule, and here it is. If I start to do this one, and I'll multiply this way and get 20, and multiply that way and get 20, and I subtract, I would get 0. And here's the problem with that. When you get 0 there, you can't do reciprocal. You can't do that. You cannot have a 0 in your denominator. So here's one rule you got to know. If you get 0 when you do your multiplications, that number is actually called a determinant, which we'll find out in a few days. There's no inverse. So we're just going to say there's no inverse. So when you see your homework today or your assignment today, it's going to say find the inverse if possible. If possible means you don't get 0 right there. All right, so that's all that means. So that's really it. Your assignments on Delta Math should not be too bad. Just doing this, just finding inverses of 2 by 2s, which is a good skill, not a bad skill. But missing you guys. Look forward to seeing you again sometime, and knock that out for me. See ya.